All right, have and have not fans. Now, I did a video a while back, and this is actually the second most popular video on the channel with almost 195,000 views. I believe I called it, Did Candace Really Love Her Son? Pretty much talking about Candace Young and her relationship with Quincy Jr. after he was killed by Warlock. But this is kind of a follow-up to it, given the fact that Quincy Jr. is officially gone from the show. Now, yes, technically speaking, he was gone after he was killed, or you could say that his last physical appearance was at the funeral home laying in the casket. And by extension, his final appearance was in the form of that letter that was found in his pocket by the morgue. But this is just kind of talking about the fact that he is cremated, so he is, like officially gone. But I just want to know, do you think that Candace really actually had some sort of affection or true love for her son? Now, I'm going to be honest and say no. And I remember back when I did that video, people were, oh my, they were literally bashing me in the comments. It was just like, you don't understand her character, and how dare you say that that's her son and that's his mother, and she, mothers love their kids and whatnot. But I think that a handful of people made a good point. The fact that Candace never really received love in her life growing up, and then using her body and, her appeal, sex and whatnot to get what she wanted, she never really received love. So how could she know how to love? I feel like a majority of listeners can attest to that and pretty much say that, oh, wow, you know what? You're right, because she didn't have a father in her life. When she was growing up, Hannah was essentially what Candace is now. And it wasn't until, she got older and whatnot that Candace came to found God. Hannah came to find, Christ and change her life around. But by that time, the damage was already done. Remember that it wasn't until like season 3, when she was an adult, that she learned the truth about the fact that, yeah, one of Hannah's men, or I believe Benny that was his first time learning that Candace got molested by one of the many men that Hannah was with at the time. And because of that, I remember that Candace said, I was in school and the police took me away to a back room to talk to me, to get questions and, answers about the situation, about this man. And Hannah wasn't there. However, Hannah did say, I tried to come to you, but they told me I wasn't allowed in the room. It was just you and the investigator. And because of that, she grew up, I believe Candace or Hannah told Candace back in season 1, it's like, you got older. It's like, you just started disrespecting me. I remember one time he took my tax refund and used it to buy like a computer and like designer clothes so you can fit in at school. And you were ashamed of me as a child in terms of, I was always in my maid outfit, so you wouldn't allow me to drop you off in the front of the school. And the list went on. So basically, after that horrific experience with one of Hannah's boyfriends, Candace pretty much shut herself out and almost valued herself as no more than, my body, people abuse me, so I'm going to use my body to abuse people, to blackmail, get what I want, and pretty much live the life that Hannah was never able to give her, in the form of getting all these material things and having money in the bank account while shunning everything else. The closest thing to any kind of love might have been with Quincy, but again, that was like an abusive relationship based off, backstory from Benny, as well as Candace herself. And not to mention, Warlock was very adamant about Quincy talking with Candace, in person after Quincy got out of jail and went to War's territory. Not to mention, it's like, look, she's messing with some dude with deep pockets, a judge. She ain't got no time for you, and stay away from her. So I'm guessing that Warlock knows about the turbulent relationship that they had in the past. And again, I thought of Warlock as Benny on the streets for Candace looking out for her. Now, when it comes down to it, again, you look at everything that Candace has gone through, everything that we've seen in the show, based off of background information from other characters, from stuff that happened before the show even started. I really do believe that Candace never really had a true example of love in her life. She never received true love. I think the closest thing to love was when Oscar was in her life, but obviously it turned out to be a ploy, because he was working to get that money back that she extorted from Jim Cryer. So after the whole Oscar fiasco, it seems like the walls that Candace built around herself just gained an extra 30 feet. Now there's barbed wire, traps everywhere. And again, it looks like Charles at the same time is starting to crack some of those walls. But right where it seemed like he was making progress, two big things happened. Number one, Chucky came out showing that Candace can no longer play those little games with him. She's not in control. Not to mention Charles was saying, hey, throw your brother under the bus for the Quincy Maxwell murder and you can come with me, get a clean slate and everything. Then on top of that, the fact she lost her son was another reason for those walls to be advanced even further. So from that, any kind of affection or whatnot is kind of locked up right now. I'm not saying Charles won't show up again in Candace's life, but as for right now, she's too busy focusing on conning and robbing people and pretty much shutting everyone else out because she isn't able to properly grieve the loss of her son. Yes, grieving does mean that you do care about somebody to some extent, but I don't think love is the answer there, because she did feel like foster care was the best option based off the fact that she wasn't in a stable condition herself in terms of job, finances, and whatnot. She did have a house, but with Warlock showing up all the time, you could argue that foster care wasn't her option or first option based off the fact that she was still building a solid lifestyle to get Quincy Jr. back. But the main reason she didn't want Quincy Jr. The main reason she wanted Quincy in foster care was because she wanted to do anything and everything to keep her son away from Hannah. And again, based off how she grew up with Hannah, it makes sense as to why she doesn't want her son to have anything to do with her, his grandmother, based off of how Candace turned out living with her. I can understand that based off the traumatic experiences that she had and what she's seen. However, I do think it's inexcusable to suggest that your mother purposely allowed your son to die just to spite you. That makes no sense. I never understood that. As Hannah told Benny, she's going to see it the way she sees it, so let's just drop it. And then not to mention throwing Benny under the bus as well, in terms of you're the reason he's dead too, because you're the one that made me give custody over to Hannah. So I mean, let's think about it here. It would not surprise me if Benny was still in jail thanks to the Secret Service, and Candace still saw Benny the way she does now in terms of it's your fault that he's dead as well. I think that Candace would have let him stay in jail and gone along with Charles. But I think the only reason she might not have done that is because she wants to get revenge on everybody. So with that being said, I feel like Candace didn't truly love her son based off the lifestyle she lived, because she never truly received love. And I feel like her life is more important than anything else, above her brother, above anybody else. You don't believe me? Again, remember the reason that Aaliyah and her boss, with child service, gave custody to Hannah? It's because of the time Candace showed up at the hospital because Quincy had been asking about his mother. It was after Quincy showed up. And then when Candace asked, hey, what are all the police doing here? Aaliyah said, the boy's father was here. And Candace literally just started shaking and whatnot, and she just left in a rush. She's like, oh, wait, but your son wants to see you. There's something I have to do. And because she left in such a hurry, her boss was like, well, that's a shame. Her son was asking for her, and now she just up and left like nothing. Yeah, give custody to the grandmother. So basically, you can say that her fear of Quincy trumped any kind of affection for her son, not to mention the fact that her life was on the line. She just instantly up and ran. The same thing happened in season 2, where Amanda called Candace after she got released by the Malones and got a few dollars, I believe $5,000 from Warlock, went back to her apartment, and Amanda, getting crazier by the episode, was like, oh, Quincy was looking for you. Should I tell him where you are? No. So she basically grabbed, her cell phone that she bought and a couple things and just left. So that lets you know right there, her fear of Warlock Quincy at that point in time in the series was her greatest emotion. As she told Jeffrey at the beginning of season 2, I fear nothing. And Jeffrey retorted with one of the best scenes of dialogue in the show. That's scary and that's sad, because the fact you fear nothing means you don't love or care about anything as well. So with that being said, I just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you really think that Candace did love her son? Let's get the conversation going in the comments below, and I'll talk to you in the next video.